Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hello, welcome to episode 76, Family Feels and Festive Boundaries, Protecting Your Peace During the Holidays. And I have an amazing special guest here today. That is Ibbie Aromolaran. She is a psychotherapist and dating and emotional, I'm adding words here, dating and relationship coach. I'm sure you deal with people with emotional issues, but yeah, so tell us more about you and what do you do?
Yes, my name is Ibbie. Like Dr. Joy said, I am a licensed therapist. I'm a dating and relationship coach. I typically work in my coaching with women who have cycled through like toxic relationships and situationships, just these unhealthy dynamics, lots of like abandonment wounds. And we kind of work through that together, come with some solution focused ways for them to have healthier relationships. And then as a therapist, I work with general mental health concerns, anxiety, depression, postpartum, PTSD, eating disorders, all the things. Yeah.
So you cover all of it. That's really good to hear. So what would someone need to be going through in order to like what does a dating and relationship coach do basically? Like what would they know? Like, oh, let me go see Ibbie for this.
Yeah. Typically they see me on social media and I'm talking about situationships and like wanting commitment out of relationships and they're not getting that. And then they want certain types of relationships and they're like, why do I keep falling short? Why do I keep picking the wrong person? So they usually resonate with my content and they're like, oh my gosh, I need your help. So it's just seeing that they want healthy relationships and they're not having that.
I love that. And speaking of which, your Instagram is sick of situationship. And you mentioned like, I'm sick of choosing these wrong relationships. There's toxic relationships. There's all kinds of things that we end up picking or unhealthy relationships back to back to back. And sometimes like you say like, well, why do I keep picking these? That's just it. Why do I? So it's a matter of looking into yourself and why is that pattern? Is that pretty much what you are helping them deal with, is how to change themselves?
Absolutely. It all starts within. That's what my website says. Healthy relationships begin with you. So it's like unpacking why it's happening, where it comes from, your limiting beliefs, childhood traumas, all of that that leads to why your picker might be off.
Exactly. Those all sound great. And so, really, what we're talking about here, and we can get into a lot of that as well, because we're talking about family dynamics, family tension, and the holidays. The holidays are supposed to be really exciting and joyful. And a lot of people do have that. But also, a lot of people have like not so good holidays because they're thinking about maybe grief and loss or that family tension that comes because maybe that uncle is going to be there and there was some issues they had with that uncle or whoever. So what would you say, given those family tensions that exist, what's the best way to handle those inevitable conflicts?
Obviously, we always say set boundaries, but then people ask, what does that actually look like?
Right.
So I think people have a hard time setting boundaries, one, because we're not necessarily taught how to do so. Not all of us were. And then also, I think people think it needs to come with this heavy, like battle shields up, ready to fight, when it could really simply be, those aren't really conversations I want to engage with, this holiday. So how about we talk about this instead? Just something real light, real simple, because certain things are going to come up that you might not want to talk about, that is going to lead to conflict. So just keeping it light. Like these are things I'm open to talking about. However, these are not.
Speaking of which, I have an example, Ibbie.
Okay.
I mean, the election we just had, we have people who have people in their family that voted for him and people in their family that voted for her. So exactly. How do we deal with that? Because, oh goodness, they say like talking about religion and politics is a no-no in general. But how do we stop somebody? We just walk away? Because it might be a pro-Trump supporter, just like, hey, and then that's just makes your holiday go down the drain. So how exactly do we deal with that kind of scenario?
Yeah, I would say know who you're dealing with. There's some people you can have a debate, a conversation with, and life goes back to normal. There are
Yeah.
other people where that's just not going to happen. So I would say
Mhm.
know who you're dealing with and approach it that way. So sometimes you have to be the person that's like mentally calming yourself down on the inside and rather than engaging outwardly. So if they're going to keep talking after
Yeah.
you said, this is not something I really want to talk about, if they're going to keep talking, I guess walking away would not be the best answer, but I wish we could.
Right.
Internal self-talk, like, okay, it's gonna be okay. This is only gonna go on for 5 more minutes. We're about to eat this turkey. It's gonna be wonderful. Whatever you have to tell yourself where you're inside, calming yourself down if you're not able to step away.
Yeah, and you said it right, mentally calm yourself from the inside. I was gonna ask, like, kinda how would you be able to do that? You went into kinda taking deep breaths, calming yourself, pretty much saying things like, "It's gonna be okay," thinking about the near future of eating that turkey.
Mhm.
It's really hard, but those are strategies that we have to get used to on a day-to-day basis so that when we get into that family tension, then it's not so hard to do once we face that. Any other tips for being able to mentally calm yourself from the inside?
Like deep breaths, like you said, sometimes traveling to another place. I do that with some of my clients. I have one, she's like, a diva, just so fabulous. And I'm like,
Ooh.
sometimes you have to, how the confessionals and reality shows and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, go
Yeah.
to a confessional in your mind. Like, what would you be saying if you had a camera in front of you, you're in the background in a confessional, what would you be saying? So she just disappears in her mind. And that's how she makes it through.
That's not that's funny. Well, actually, with TikTok and these reels and all that, you can almost just go actually have a confessional, but we don't suggest going and put your family on blast on live or on Instagram like that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely important. Usually people get the picture. Like hopefully you have family members who are like, talk about this. But sometimes we do have those people that want to force you. How
Mhm.
do you kind of get beyond that? Is it a matter of continuing to say no, 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 or actually just excusing yourself from the room?
Excuse me. At some point, you're gonna have to excuse yourself. I don't know if there's a family member that feels safe to you, a cousin, something where
Yeah.
you can send them the emergency text and they can come rescue you. You can get that emergency phone call. Whatever it is, have an out, especially when you know the types of people you're dealing with. Have an out
Mhm,
ready to go
mhm.
and send a SOS, and whoever comes to save you first, go with them.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully you get out, and be able to experience your joy, and a lot of times people feel guilty or feel selfish when they
Mhm.
are trying to inflict, boundaries, but it's important because you're trying to protect your mental space and protect your
Mhm.
peace and protect your joy, so it's okay to have those boundaries, say no, say that you don't wanna talk about it. Any other things you might tell your clients when they say, "Oh, no, 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 that's being selfish if I don't wanna talk about what they wanna talk about."
Okay. Well, in showing up for them, is there a chance that you're abandoning you? Like
Mm.
like maybe you feel selfish or whatever, but at the end of the day, showing up for them and abandoning you is not going to help you in the long run anyway. So let's talk about why you feel the need to do that and let's go from there.
Yes, that's really good. So, because why is it so important for you to put them first and not
Mhm.
yourself? And a lot of us do that. Like, even with like being self-critics, when we tell ourselves like, "Oh, we shouldn't do that," or make ourselves feel guilty or talk bad about ourselves, all of that's wrapped in the same thing, and you are abandoning yourself and your needs as opposed to putting yourself first.
Mhm.
Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Okay, so as far as the holidays, social media can also get in the way of it because a lot of people post things that could be unrealistic. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to Greece for the holidays, or I'm gonna buy each of my family 10 gifts. And you're just like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. And of course, the expectation that we're just supposed to spend money in the first place, the consumerism. So
Mhm.
now we're not even, focused on budgeting and saving money. So these unrealistic holiday expectations, how can we mentally detox from it? How can we try to prioritize our goals rather than getting swamped into this consumerism?
Yeah, I think even my daughter, she came to me and my husband and she was
Hmm.
like, we had the turkey like set up and with all the other food. So we cut it and we put it on our plates before we went to go sit down. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, I kind of like this Thanksgiving. I kind of don't because I wanted all of us to sit here and the turkey's in the middle, like on TV. And
Oh.
so she's already at 5, already having these
Oh,
expectations based on what she
that's so
sees.
cute.
Yeah, and I'm like, social media can distort our reality, like, or take us away from embracing the present moment. And for her, it's TV, but I guess that's her social media, and takes us away from embracing what actually is in front of us. Like, this is how we're doing our Thanksgiving, and we're all here together, and it's great. Maybe the turkey's not in the middle of the table, but it's still here. And I think just
That's so
having
cute.
that.
I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that.
Right. I think social media brings the comparisonitis and all the things that we could be doing rather than focusing on the moment. So I would
Mhm.
say turn it off, mute it. If you can't control those thoughts that are having you compare yourself,
Mhm.
don't be on there that much.
Right, and does your daughter believe in Santa?
I don't think my mom let that happen. Gigi did not let that happen.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, my mom has very much from the beginning let her know that that's not a thing. So,
Well, and that's not what we care to do either, because I'm just like, why would we want our kids to think that Santa is someone else is buying the gifts when we are? And I
mhm.
literally the other day, last week, tried to tell my 4-year-old, "Oh yeah, there's no Santa." He's like, "Well, yes, there is Santa." I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to argue with him. If he
Yeah,
thinks there
why?
is, let's just let the magical happen for the next
Mhm.
couple years. But as far as like the consumerism thing, like the gifts. I let that go years ago. I'm like, look, everybody not gonna get no gift. I don't give
Mhm.
extended gifts for extended family. I mean, I'll get gifts for my kids and then my husband maybe. But I already got him Mary J. Blige tickets for his birthday. So he said, and that's November, and he said that counts for Christmas too. So I said, okay, cool.
Great.
He's not getting nothing extra.
Great. You're off the hook. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Because ooh, that's stressful. And even when I get
Mhm.
gifts for the kids, I'm waiting to the last minute. So everybody feels like they got to start in September, start in August, and that can be really stressful. And just in and of itself can make you feel like you have to do the right thing and get the right thing. And then if you
Mhm.
don't get the right thing, then there's tension there. So that leads all the way back to family tension as well.
Yeah, I'm big on a gift card. I don't know. If I'm gonna do it wrong, just here's your gift card. Go figure it out yourself.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's easy because that's
Yeah.
the yeah, trying to figure out what they want and trying to get the right thing. Yeah, exactly.
So
Just
here's
get
a
the
gift
gift.
card. I mean, I at least know the ballpark of maybe their favorite store or something. I'm like, you know what? Here's a gift card. Figure it out. I got things to do. I'm tired. I cannot add that. Let that be another thing that stresses me. So here's a gift card. Here's some money. Enjoy yourself. Merry Christmas.
Exactly, but then again, I don't wanna give up the money either. I'm like, "Look,"
Yeah. For
and
immediate family.
I used to say, "My present to you is my present." So
That
there you
works
go.
too. Yeah.
Exactly. A situation came up within my family. No issues, no real tension, but I could see how in some families where it could be a big deal. So
Mhm.
this time we're not doing Christmas in Atlanta. We're going to Michigan where my sister lives. And then her in-laws are used to having Christmas with them and used to doing certain things. And there's a particular individual who's used to being the person that brings the mac and cheese. Like that's
Oh.
a big deal for black families, right? But I'm the person who brings the mac and cheese. So then now we got two people who brings mac and cheese. And so
Mhm.
the other person was like, "Oh, I'll just bring pop. It's okay." And I'm just like, "Why can't we just both bring mac and cheese?" So for a minute
Yeah.
there it was just kind of like only one person can, but we got over it. It's working out. In fact, I get to be the one that does it.
Okay.
But she wasn't able to do it anyway. So I'm just like, okay, why was this even a thing? But even something that small can turn into a big to do.
Mhm.
But yeah. So any other take on the kinds of family tension that you may have seen when it comes to the holiday times?
Um, I think people just bringing up stuff that they know is gonna stir the pot. I've seen a lot of that. Just they
On
know it.
purpose.
Yeah, they just know it's gonna stir the pot, and they like that. They like find the thrill in debating and making everybody mad. So just knowing who you're dealing with, like I said earlier, and preparing yourself for that, because that person is ready. They're ready to stir the pot, and you just have to decide: Am I going to engage? Am I going to engage productively? Is this going to take a toll on me later? How do I want to navigate that? Because you know what's going to happen before you show up. We can't pretend like we don't know our family
Yeah.
members. You know
Should they just
exactly
not
what's
show
going.
up?
No, you show. I guess I think you show up if you enjoy yourself. Now, if you showing up is horrible for your mental health, and there's no way to work around it. I have a client who just doesn't go anymore, and she feels great. She just does
Oh,
something with her
nice.
daughter every year, and I'm like, for me, obviously, family is really important, and I want to show up, and I find ways to make it work. But for her, she's like, she's just felt so much healthier in not showing up. So I think you just have to do what works for you.
Yeah. And so as we talk about the holidays, there's also, I mentioned earlier, grief and loss. And, that can create sadness, holiday blues, because there's certain people who aren't here anymore. And there's people who
Mhm,
lost people, and this is the first holiday without that person, or it doesn't even matter. It could be 16 years, but, every Christmas could bring back a strong memory of them. So it's a matter of creating those holiday traditions to kind of get rid of the stressors. And for instance, what I do, because I lost both grandmothers and my father the same year. And so every year, what I do for Thanksgiving as well as for Christmas is I make the mac and cheese, which is my maternal grandmother's specialty and her
mhm,
recipe. And then I make the cornbread dressing, which is my paternal grandmother's specialty. So that makes me feel good and close to
mhm.
home. Any other suggestions you might give to people when they're just like constantly feeling sad and feeling the holiday blues because of loss?
Yeah. I would say similar to what you said, just finding ways to connect and remember their spirit, their energy. I think bringing family together during those times is even better because I see people laughing about things, like remembering things, and it
Yeah,
brings that joy. So I would say
yeah.
find ways to connect not only with the person, things that their favorite foods, things like that, but also connect with your family who also is missing those people as well.
Yeah, exactly, because there's usually someone else who's feeling the same thing, especially if you lost a parent, there's a
Mhm.
sibling who also lost a parent. If you're the only child, there's usually somebody else that you can speak to, and if there isn't, there's therapy too, and that's all right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now for those along those lines, feeling isolated or overwhelmed this season, what are some top strategies for maintaining mental wellness?
Yeah, I would say lots of self-care, whatever that looks like for you. Obviously, isolation, it sucks if it's not productive in a way. So if you're just kind of isolating and it's like you're in a dark house and the blinds are closed and you're just like feeling all these feelings, these heavy feelings, and there's no outlet or way
Yeah.
of processing that, find ways to like, I don't know, open a window, drink
Mhm.
some tea, watch your favorite shows, maybe call a friend, just try not to make the isolation more miserable than it sometimes is, and try to see what you can do that actually feels good, like you're filling your cup.
Mhm. And you said more miserable than it sometimes is, and that makes me think of, like, how we perceive things. Like, when we're
Mhm,
stressed out or depressed or even grieving, like, we perceive life happening a certain way when it actually isn't. So that's why
mhm,
it's good to incorporate positive thoughts, positive affirmation, and gratitude, because even
mhm,
though you've lost that person, there still is something to be grateful for, even if it's, like, something very small. So that just
mhm.
keeps us going from day to day.
Yeah, hope is really it, waking up every day and it's like, there's something here that I'm showing up for, whatever that is, let that be your
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm. Now, you are a dating and relationship coach. So I imagine you coach people through the dating process or when they're in a relationship, how to deal with toxic relationships. When it
Mhm,
comes to being around family, especially in the holidays, there's certain expectations like when are you gonna get married? Or
mhm,
if you are married or you're in a relationship, when you gonna give me a grandbaby? And that can be stressful, especially because people don't know what's going on. It might be a couple that's been trying to have a baby for years and they
right.
can't. So, and then they don't want to tell their business. So, how might somebody navigate that kind of family pressure?
Yeah. I mean, I know we say, as therapists, we're like, let's not deflect in session. But with your
Mm.
family, maybe we
Oh,
can
you got that.
maybe we can do some deflecting there, changing the subject. If they're asking about kids, just, oh my gosh, look at little Ronnie and little Johnny over there. Talk about your nieces and nephews and how cute they look over there if they keep trying to bring it back to your kids and why you haven't had any. Or if they're bringing it back to a relationship that you don't have. Oh my gosh, look at Sarah and her husband over there. Aren't they looking so cute? I would deflect, 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 change the subject because if they're not going to listen, I mean, you can always try the I just don't want to talk about that today. Can we talk about this? I'm doing great in my career. But
Exactly.
if that doesn't work, we can deflect. Hmm.
Right, or you can be like, "Have you found me somebody yet?"
Make a joke out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also like making a joke and, making it fun. I mean, that's what anything, because usually people feel bullied. Like that's a different type of a bullying or a different type of attack. When
Hmm.
people are like, why aren't you pregnant yet? Why aren't you married yet? So usually I say a clever comeback is good when you're dealing with a bully. So a nice clever comeback will be good
Hmm.
for that as well. Just like when my mom said, why didn't you buy a new couch? Oh, I'm waiting for you to buy it.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Why you not married yet? I wait for you to find me somebody.
Hmm.
So that's one way. I mean, dealing with our stressors in a humor way, is always
Hmm.
good anyhow.
Yeah. It can be
Yeah.
tough though, especially if it's weighing on you emotionally. Like they're bringing
Yeah.
up triggers, and it's just, if you can find a way to stand strong and crack a joke, deflect, or just change the subject to things you want to talk about. You're doing great in your
Yeah.
career, you have great friendships, you're focused on your health, and be confident in talking about those things rather than what they keep trying to talk about.
Right. Talk about those and recognize those things. If it is a trigger and it's bringing out those emotions like depression and stress, maybe that is a sign that seeing a therapist could be helpful for you to be able to deal with that. So
Mhm.
that when someone mentions that you aren't so triggered.
Yeah.
That's good too. What's your advice for couples dealing with holiday stress, whether it's from finances, the family stressors, or just unrealistic expectations? Because as we were saying, financial issues can be a real issue in general.
Yeah, I would say, tune in rather than away from. And I know that can be really challenging because sometimes it's like that's the person that you're seeing all the time, and you take your stressors out on your closest people. But
Hmm.
trying to tune in, share the load, attune to each other, maybe reach an agreement of, okay, maybe we can't handle this thing this year financially or whatever it is emotionally, but maybe we can do this instead. And maybe coming up with some type of agreement. So that way, when things are going awry, you're like, okay, let's come back to this agreement that we made.
Hmm. That's good. Yeah, and just remembering you're a team because it is
Mhm.
very easy to turn on the person that's closest to you, that spouse, when a stressor comes, especially a financial stressor. But like you're a team, and then also just not trying to directly put blame on the person. I
Mhm.
imagine when you're dealing with couples, that's one of the things to talk about because if you continue to put blame on that person for something, then it's like that's not what teams do. Then you're going in the
Mhm.
wrong direction, turns into toxicity. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Teammate is big. Seeing your partner as a teammate rather than your opponent is huge. That makes all the difference because that's your person. You want things to be lighthearted in your home. You don't want all that tension and tiptoeing
Yeah.
around each other. So if you see them as a teammate, there's certain things you're not going to say. If you see them as a best friend, a teammate, you're going to show up in more positive ways. You're going to, I don't think the way we talk to our friends sometimes is more, we think it through more than ways we talk to our partners sometimes. And I think if you see your partner as your best friend, there's certain things you're not going to say, certain behaviors you're not going to engage in, and try to see them that way.
Mm, right. Yeah, because I was talking about that a few episodes back, how when we're at work, we're real tamed and professional and we don't show
Hmm.
certain emotion. But as soon as we get home, we take things out on the people closest to us. But we still have to hold that in as well.
Yeah. And it's okay to voice how you feel. It's just
Mhm.
how you do it is what matters. Be tactful. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband made a joke. He's like, actually, all this time, it's not that I'm wrong. It's just the tone that I say it. I'm like, okay, I guess you're right. Because like, he can say
Yeah.
something that's right, but then if he says it the wrong way, then it's just like,
Hmm.
"Well, what you just said is wrong. 'Cause you said it the wrong way."
Yeah. I always say effective communication is less about what you want to say and more about what you want the other person to receive. So
Ooh.
if you know they're gonna say it in a way and they're not gonna receive it, you're just wasting your time.
Ooh.
So think about that when you communicate to anybody, but especially the closest people to you.
Yes, yes, that's a real nugget. So,
Mhm.
when you do relationship coaching, do you see them for a certain period of time? Do they have to commit to a certain series of sessions? How does that work? Is there a certain program?
Yeah, I used to do it at program based. So I would work with like women one on one, and then we would do some group things. And it would be like a 12-week program, start to finish. We'd have it mapped out, a game plan. Now it's definitely more sporadic. Now I'm more therapy based now. I still do some coaching, but a lot of people come for therapy. So I don't really have a program going at the moment, but I do see clients for like one-off. They need like a quick coaching session on one specific issue, and they'll come talk to me for that.
Okay, sounds good. Can they use insurance for coaching, or is it cash pay?
Coaching is cash pay. Therapy, I do take some insurance. Coaching, cash pay.
Makes a lot of sense. There's that
Yeah.
fine line between therapy and coaching. So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of hard when you actually have the credentials. And you're in school to be a PhD, right? Or to get
Yeah,
a
almost
PhD,
done.
rather.
Almost done. So close. So close.
Ooh,
Yeah.
so what are you going to do with that PhD? Anything different from what you're doing now?
I don't think so. I think I just want to keep researching. There's certain things that I think even once I graduate, I'm not done. I haven't reached the full answer that I'm looking for. So I think I want to keep researching, maybe do like speaking engagements and still trying to understand some of the topics, maybe research with other researchers. I don't want it to end just there because I don't think I'm done yet.
No, you're not. I mean, that's just the thing, with ambition and purpose and your why. It's just you just keep going and going and going. So the
Mhm.
sky is the limit. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you're on Journey to Joy Live, Miss Ibbie. Tell
Mhm.
us about your journey, your personal journey to joy.
Oh gosh, on the
Well, I didn't
spot.
prep you with that question. I asked all my guests that question. So
Okay, my journey to joy. I never is a strong word. Okay, 99% of the time, I do not pour from an empty cup. I make that a
Ooh,
mission of mine. So I'm filling up on things that I like to do, things that bring me joy. I never stop engaging in my hobbies. Like I'm
yay.
doing at least one of them per week.
Mhm.
Always doing that. I solo travel sometimes just to get away. I want to show up as the best mom, wife, friend I can be. So I make sure my cup is filled. I don't ever think it's selfish. I take care of me for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot to dealing with. It's almost like that sandwich generation when you're a wife, a mom, a daughter,
Mhm. That too.
and doing everything in your field. So it's a lot to
Mhm.
manage. Self-care comes first.
Yes. And I love doing my hobbies. It's just kind of like catering to my inner child. I love doing that. So I'm always, at least once a week, I'm doing something
Awesome.
somewhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Journey to Joy Live. So as you can see, her website here is, how do you pronounce that? Aurora.
Aurora love, Aurora like the Aurora lights, Aurora sleeping beauty,
Nice.
Aurora. Yeah.
Loverelationships.com. And then, of course, on Instagram at Sick of Situationship.
Mhm.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I guess I can plug my book if you have experienced a
Oh,
situationship, a toxic relationship. It's kind of like a book, a collection of poetry and prose that mimics like the cycle of a toxic relationship or a situationship. So it
uh-huh.
starts with like the fireworks, and then it goes to the conflict, confusion, chaos, and then healing and redemption at the end. And there are journal prompts for each stage, whatever stage
Oh,
of the journey you're in. If you're in the happy fireworks stage, cool, we'll talk about it. If you are in the confusing conflicts
mhm.
where you're feeling guilt about the relationship, there are prompts for that. And then when you finally decide to walk away and care for yourself, there are prompts in navigating you through that as well.
Wow. What's
So,
the name of it?
tales of a situationship.
Ah, yes, you have told me about that. Tells
Mhm.
of a situationship. I'm writing it down.
Mhm. And I just like kind of pulled stories from clients, even from my own past. There were some journal entries that are my own journal entries that are in that book. And it's just kind of pulling different things and helping people navigate that journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And thank you all for watching. And
Thanks for
don't go
having me.
anywhere. This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I accept Aetna for Georgia residents, and out-of-pocket services are available for others. I'm licensed in Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Tennessee, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Illinois, Virginia, and Minnesota. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoyno on Amazon for $39.08 to help you on your wellness journey. And remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, may you continue to transform challenges into joy.